Here we are, we're going to chat about the impact of not regulating cannabis. What is it going to do for border states of Texas, for example, or anybody else that's choosing not to legalize cannabis? We're going to take a look at Washington, specifically the border states around there, and some spots around Colorado as well, and the impacts that are drawing to these like little spots, these little towns in Washington, Colorado, and the loss of revenue from the other side. You know, they're coming from Idaho. Obviously, Idaho could gain some revenue. So diving into the impacts of border states and really kind of the loss of revenue as a result of not regulating, all coming up.
It's only entertainment.
Welcome back to the Talking Hedge. I'm Josh Kincaid, capital markets analyst and host of your Cannabis Business Podcast.
So we think of regulated states and the ability to buy, but just look at New Jersey. I think you have 75% of the municipalities putting a moratorium or just all out block on the number of licenses. So there's a lot of people who have access, but there's many more who still don't. So looking at this from like a prohibition standpoint, you have regulated, you don't have legal. Big difference between legal and regulated. So some of the border counties with higher than average cannabis sales are a result of, places that don't have cannabis in the state. So they're obviously crossing borders, not legal federally to cross borders. You can't even go from Oregon to Washington, but that's not stopping a lot of people. So taking a look at some examples of counties that are on the state borders and receiving a lot higher than average per capita cannabis sales. I think we saw that in Illinois, a lot of long lines, people stocking up from out of state. And some of those examples, we're going to see a lot more as New Mexico goes legal. People from Texas are going to be coming in. Already people from Idaho coming into Washington state. So it's definitely a thing and always has been and will be. So let's take a look at Washington state. So looking at this map, there's a couple of counties, 3 counties here with the highest rates of per capita sales over the past year. So interesting thing about them is they're all on the border. So these counties share a border with Idaho, one of the 2 remaining U.S. states which cannabis is still completely prohibited. So this, I don't even know how to pronounce this, Asotin County, labeled number 1 in this map. If you're watching it, not listening, it's in the very bottom right corner of this state, bordering Oregon and Idaho. And so the per capita spend in that county that borders both Idaho and Oregon is 3 times higher than the per capita spend on average in Washington. All right, taking a look at Colorado. So we can compare all the counties in the state per capita spend, but there's 2 counties that are seeing a higher relative sales of cannabis than the others. And those obviously are bordering on other states. So these 2 counties are on opposite sides of this state, but they do have one thing in common, that they border Nebraska and then New Mexico. So Nebraska is the second U.S. state that still fully prohibits cannabis. So cross-border in the Sedgwick County is the same that we saw in Washington. New Mexico's adult use legalization just went into effect. So that's going to be really interesting to kind of see how that number 2 county on this map in the top right corner of Colorado will be impacted. I think it's safe to say that those sales are going to plummet by a significant amount, probably 2/3 is kind of what we're seeing here. So I think it's safe to say that we're seeing some border counties with recreational sales available to attract those from non-regulated marketplaces in states nearby. So should be a pretty good indicator to kind of see what your county could do if you just look across the county border there into other states. Obviously, a big impact to certain states that aren't regulated yet, but it looks like the feds are going to come in with a massive package for roads and bridges. It's an inexpensive way for the feds to dish out a bunch of money to their friends and family who are the ones owning those companies. Different subject for a different podcast. But essentially, are going to see residents being forced to go out and shop out of state or out of county in areas that are going to lose out on significant tax revenue. And I know that, one standpoint is it's all about the children, but in reality, it's all about the money. And if these county officials, state officials, and feds don't see that, it's really not going to go anywhere. And even then, it's got to be a significant amount of money to influence them specifically. That's why lobbyists are really the ones dangling the marionette, which are the public officials. So government bodies kind of need to get out of the way and let legalization move forward rather than individual regulated states follow the money. And I think we'll find legalization. With that, we're going to roll this one up. I'm Josh Kincaid. This is the Talking Hedge. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, or don't. And I'm out. Don't forget to smash that like button on your way out and check out these other videos that we've got.